The burger slipped from her hands and landed on the floor with a hollow thud, but the group of young men only laughed louder. "You were in the military? America must have been really desperate to need someone like you." She sat frozen in her wheelchair, eyes vacant, her wrist still adorned with a bracelet gleaming in red, white, and blue, colors that never faded from the heart of a soldier. 30 minutes later, the entire cafe was surrounded by dozens of soldiers in full combat gear. Who had called them, and why were they here? If you're outraged, type shame in the comments to stand with those who've sacrificed for our country. Every morning at exactly 8:15, Sergeant Anna Lewis wheeled herself into Mike's Café for breakfast. At 39, her upper body remained impressively strong, a living testament to her military past and the challenging reality she now faced. The wheelchair had been part of her life for 6 years now, ever since that fateful day in Kandahar when she spotted the IED just seconds before the convoy rolled over it. "Morning, Anna," Mike called from behind the counter. "The usual?" Anna nodded with a gentle smile. "Yes, please, and maybe a few extra napkins today." She dressed simply, jeans and a plain blue t-shirt, but always carried 2 items she never left behind. A bracelet woven from red, white, and blue paracord, and a neatly folded letter from the president, thanking her for saving the lives of 3 young soldiers, were the 2 items she always kept close. The letter almost never left her pocket, but just knowing it was there gave her the strength to push through the tougher days. And today was quickly becoming one of them. As she made her way toward her usual table in the corner, the wheelchair suddenly jolted, its wheel catching on a raised floor tile. The burger she had just received slipped from her lap and landed on the freshly mopped floor. "Damn," she murmured, reaching down awkwardly to pick it up. From a nearby table came a burst of laughter. 3 college-aged young men, clad in expensive sneakers and designer clothes, were pointing at her. "Smooth moves," the tallest sneered, his voice loud enough for her to hear. "And they actually trusted you with weapons?" Anna didn't respond, her attention fixed on picking up her fallen burger. "Hey, I'm talking to you," the young man pressed on, voice dripping with mockery. "You really call yourself a soldier? America must be scraping the bottom of the barrel." His friends chuckled, egging him on. "Ryan, she can't hear you," one of them called out loudly. "Too many explosions, probably," Ryan shot back with a cruel grin. The cafe fell into an uneasy silence. A young waitress stood motionless, coffee pot in hand, her gaze flickering nervously between Anna and the manager, who suddenly found the cash register very absorbing. "I hear you loud and clear," Anna said at last, her voice calm but firm, barely above a whisper. "Better than you might expect." Ryan, the ringleader, rose from his seat and sauntered over, looming over her with a mocking smirk. "So you're what?" "Some kind of veteran, wearing a flag bracelet like a badge." "Cute little accessory." Anna's hands trembled slightly as she reached down again for the fallen burger. Her fingers, damaged by the same explosion that took her legs, betrayed her once more. The burger slipped through her grasp again. The 3 men burst into laughter. "Look at this. Can't even hold a burger." Ryan mocked her, mimicking dropping something with exaggerated shaky motions. "This is our military hero, folks." Anna stared straight ahead, jaw clenched tight, as their laughter echoed through the suddenly quiet cafe. A young waitress named Jenny approached cautiously, holding a replacement burger. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, placing it gently on Anna's table. "This one's on the house." Before Anna could respond, Ryan's voice cut through the air again. "Special treatment for the so-called veteran." What a surprise. Jenny's cheeks flushed, but she hurried away without a word. Anna slowly unwrapped the fresh burger, her appetite fading. She reached into her pocket, fingers brushing against the folded letter from the president before finding her wallet. Inside was a photo of her unit, 5 smiling faces in desert camo. 3 bore black ribbons taped to the corners. Around the cafe, other customers shifted uncomfortably. An elderly man raised his newspaper higher, blocking his view. A woman with 2 small children quickly gathered her things and left, avoiding eye contact. A businessman tapped furiously on his phone, headphones firmly in place. No one spoke up. No one met her eyes, except a small boy, maybe 7 or 8, who stared openly from the next table. He wore a Captain America t-shirt and clutched a half-eaten muffin. "Mommy," he whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "that lady has a soldier bracelet like Uncle Dave's." His mother hushed him quickly, pulling him close. Anna placed her hands on her wheels, preparing to leave early, a thing she had never done in 6 years of coming to this cafe. Just then, her phone rang. The screen showed Elliot with a photo of a handsome young man in military dress uniform. "Mom," his clear voice came through the speaker, "I just got a video from Jenny's brother." "What's happening?" Anna's eyes flicked to the young waitress, who pretended to wipe down a nearby table. So that's how he knew. "It's nothing, sweetheart," Anna replied softly. "Just some kids being kids. I'm used to it." "Mom," his voice hardened, "those aren't kids. They're grown men." "Elliot, please. I don't need." "Where are you sitting right now?" "My usual corner." A pause. "Stay there." "Elliot, don't you dare." But the line had already gone dead. Anna set her phone down and noticed Ryan watching her with a mocking smirk. He called out, "Better call for backup. Maybe they'll send someone who can actually walk." His friends laughed again, though one seemed less enthusiastic than before. Anna closed her eyes briefly, took a deep breath, and unwrapped her burger. She began eating calmly, maintaining her dignity despite the continued snickers from the nearby table. The little boy still watched her, his eyes filled with something that looked remarkably like admiration. "What would you do if your mother were disrespected like this?" If you believe that honoring those who have sacrificed is the least we owe them, type "never forget" in the comments. Exactly 30 minutes after Anna's call, the ground seemed to tremble. The roar of powerful military engines filled the morning air. Through the cafe windows, everyone saw a convoy arrive, 2 Humvees and a light armored vehicle, all painted desert tan with military markings. They parked with precision, blocking the parking lot entrance and the view from the street. Ryan's smile faded. "What the hell?" The cafe fell silent as soldiers in combat gear emerged from the vehicles. 12 of them moved with disciplined precision, forming a perimeter around the building. They didn't rush or shout, but moved with a coordination born from years of training. The bell above the door jingled as a soldier entered. Tall, with captain's bars on his shoulders and a face withered by combat. His eyes scanned the room until they settled on Anna in her usual corner. Without hesitation, he walked straight to her table, stopped precisely 2 feet away, and snapped to attention. A perfect military salute. Sergeant Lewis, his voice carried through the now silent cafe, the men and women of Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, present and reporting. Anna's eyes widened in recognition. "Elliot," she whispered. "You shouldn't have." Ryan and his friends went pale, their bravado vanishing instantly. Elliot turned to face the cafe but fixed his gaze on the 3 young men. "This establishment," he announced with steady authority, "has someone who deserves your respect. Sergeant Anna Lewis, combat medic, who lost the use of her leg saving 3 soldiers from an IED in Kandahar in 2013. He pointed to Anna. "That woman is my mother." One of Ryan's friends shrank back in his seat. Another muttered, "Oh shit." Ryan stood, perhaps to leave, but another soldier had silently blocked his path. "Going somewhere?" the soldier asked quietly. "Want to say something to a real soldier first?" Anna remained seated, her face betraying no emotion. But even as she kept her expression composed, a single tear traced its way down Anna's cheek, catching the morning sunlight through the window like a shard of glass reflecting something far deeper than words. Elliot knelt beside her wheelchair, his movements deliberate, reverent. Gently, he placed his unit's insignia patch on the table beside her half-eaten burger, a quiet gesture, but one that roared with meaning. "The men who brought me home to you," he said, his voice low but clear enough for every soul in the cafe to hear, "asked me to give you this." He paused, his eyes filled with something tender. "Sergeant Mitchell's boy just finished basic training. He said he joined because of the stories his dad told, stories about you." As if on cue, more soldiers entered the cafe, one by one, filing along the walls. They stood tall, shoulders squared, forming a silent, powerful honor guard. Then the first soldier to arrive after Elliot stepped forward. "Apologies for our delay, ma'am," he said with formality and humility. Traffic was heavier than expected. Anna slowly looked around the room. Some faces she recognized from old photos Elliot had shown her. Others were strangers. But every single one of them wore the same look, solemn, unshakable respect. From behind the counter, Mike, the cafe owner, finally emerged, his face pale, his voice trembling. "Sergeant Lewis," he said, "your money's no good here. Not today. Not ever again." Elliot gently guided his mother toward the door. The soldiers stood at attention on either side of her path. As she passed, each one raised their hand in salute, not out of routine or rank, but out of genuine reverence. People began to rise from their seats. The elderly man who had hidden behind his newspaper stood up and removed his cap, holding it over his heart. A woman leaned down to whisper to her daughter, "Remember her face. That's what real courage looks like." Ryan and his friends weren't arrested. No one laid a hand on them. They didn't have to be removed, because the weight of the moment did what no threat ever could. As Anna passed, each of them sat silent, their heads bowed, their postures heavy with shame. Then, from the crowd, the little boy in the Captain America shirt broke free from his mother's side. He ran to Anna and pressed a crumpled piece of paper into her hand, a child's drawing of a woman in a wheelchair wearing a bright red cape. "You're my hero," he said, and without waiting for a reply, he scurried back to his mother. For the first time that morning, Anna smiled, a soft, real smile, and tucked the drawing gently into her pocket beside the presidential letter. As she emerged into the sunlight, surrounded by Elliot and his unit, she turned to her son. "You didn't have to do all this." "Yes, Mom," he said quietly. "We did. Some warriors never carry rifles. They bear invisible wounds so others can live freely. And sometimes, all it takes is a kind word or a simple act to honor them, or to betray them. The greatest battles aren't always fought on foreign soil. They unfold in ordinary moments, in quiet cafes, where we choose between honoring sacrifice or mocking it. If you believe those who've given deserve dignity and remembrance, subscribe to Old Soldier Story, where the silent heroes finally speak. Old Soldier Story, because some stories deserve to be heard.